Hey everyone, and welcome once again to a Maelstrom Arena guide. This time I'm on my stem sock, and like last time I'll be going over each arena individually. My CP will be once again found in the description. But before we start, let's go over the gear. I used Valley Dreath Monster set, 5-piece Might and others, although you can use a variety of different sets here, more on that later. 5-piece Vicious, Ophidian, a precise and a sharpened weapon, and the Maelstrom bow. Two of my set pieces are heavy armor. That's because I use the dubious Comoran Throne for the extra stam recovery. And to stay on my 17k HP, I had to switch out a second heavy armor piece to get the passive bonus on HP. Now for skills, I used Crit Surge, Poison Injection, Bound Armament, Endless Hail, Rearming Trap, and Dawnbreaker for the passive weapon damage increase. And on the front bar, I use Deadly Cloak, Rapid Strikes, Bound Armaments again, Blood Craze, Hurricane, and Rend for the massive heal and the massive damage. And I also use the Essence of Weapon Power here and there to refill stamina and get some extra damage going. If you don't have those, they're not too expensive right now, but if you're really low on cash, just use normal stamina potions that drop from enemies. Now here we are in the first arena. One tip to start this one off, just walk straight and place your ground dots near this gate, because that's where the first enemy will spawn. That way you can take care of him very quickly. All in all, this arena is pretty simple, not much here that can actually kill you as long as you keep moving. As a StaminaSorcerer, you should have an eye on your buffed up times as well, since Surge is essential to your survival and Blade Cloak and Hurricane are great at dealing damage, plus both of them reduce incoming damage as well. Starting from round 2, you have this necrotic ball follow you around. It damages you when you're inside that red area, but to be honest, the damage isn't really that big of a deal. So you don't want to just stand in it. What you should do instead, and I guess that applies to basically every enemy in Maelstrom, is run circles around your enemies. It will let you avoid a lot of these ground targeted attacks they do, not only here but also in later stages, but it'll also make some attacks completely miss you. For example, the giants in the ice arena cannot hit you with their attacks if you run around them, but you'll see that soon enough. I'm gonna take some time to talk about gear a bit. I said I use Nightmare this case, but you could technically also run Hunting's Rage. Both of them are crafted sets and they're both pretty good. Not sure which one is better though, but they're both crafted so they're pretty easy to get, so it's definitely a good choice, especially if you just started out with it. Now the absolute best set for stamina in general would be Twice-Fanged Snake, but sadly I don't have the setup for it as you would need vicious weapons, since Twice-Fanged Snake weapons don't work because you lose the stacks when you swap weapons. But if you have that with 3 vicious and 2 vicious weapons and 5-piece Twice-Fanged Snake, definitely use that. If you just started out and haven't even gotten to do trials yet, meaning you neither have vicious nor Twice-Fanged Snake, just use agility jewelry. You can buy that stuff from players on guild stores. Right, enough of that, let's get back to the arena itself as we're approaching the end of Arena 1. Boss fight. This guy, as you would expect for the first boss, is not too difficult. A few things you have to watch out for as a melee is he places this blackish area near him that snares you when you touch it, so try to avoid it when circling him. If you do get caught by it, just dodge roll and you should be fine. He also summons images of himself from time to time. If you let them live for too long, he will reclaim them and get some HP back. But as you can see, he's not that hard. He should die pretty quickly. That's it. Arena number 1 done.
Let the action begin! Show us what you've got!
And here we are in Arena 2. Many people have a lot of trouble with this one, with the spinny blades and all that, but once you get a movement pattern down, it gets a lot easier. What I do is I take a spot in the arena, usually the one between the health and speed sigil, since that's the spot where the Centurion will spawn at the end of each round. and I basically just stay there the whole time. Once you get a spot, you go to the outer rail and wait for the blade to come near you. Important to note here is the outer and the inner blade will move clockwise and the middle blade will move counterclockwise. Anyways, when the blade comes close to you, you switch to the middle lane, run counterclockwise for a short bit to clear the AoE of the outer blade, and then you move back to the outer lane. I know it's a lot to think about when you start this the first time, but once you do it a couple times it gets a lot easier, and trust me, this arena will be very simple once you get that movement down. Now for how to deal with the enemies, you mostly focus on the one directly next to you, especially when it's a Centurion. But for small things like the sentries, a light attack from your bow plus a poison injection should usually be able to kill them. If that doesn't kill them, just use a second poison injection and that should do the trick. The spiders will come to you, so just wait for them and kill them once they are near you. The spheres, as they are ranged, will not walk towards you, so you have to walk to them and kill them there. Once you do kill them, you just go back to your position and you should be fine. Alright, here we go. Arena 2 boss is basically 3 bosses. He only has one mechanic, so there's not a lot to talk about here. After 25 HP lost, he goes into stasis and gets an electrical field around him that deals massive damage, so you don't touch it. Once he's in stasis, you will need to move on to the next one. Do that until all 3 of them die, and you're done. If you ever find yourself stuck between 2 of the spinny blades on the ground, just dodge roll through them as the blade is completely dodgeable. And off we are in Arena 3. This one limits your movement with the water around you. From time to time it gets electrocuted and you do not want to stand in there when it is. You should get used to staying on one of the platforms and dealing with the adds from there. Ranged adds can be taken out with bow attacks, and if you have to walk up to them, you just dodge roll through the water to clear it as quickly as possible. And as a stamcha, you can easily cover one of the platforms with your rearming trap and an endless hail, as that will take out the enemy that spawns there. Plus the trap will stay for the next wave usually. Now the most dangerous enemies here are probably the stranglers that spawn periodically. Not because of the damage, but because they heavily slow you when they hit you. The best way to deal with those is either drop an endless hail on them when they spawn, walk up to them and charge a heavy attack when they spawn, or just heavy attack bow plus poison injection. Should usually work and kill them. The hard part about this is catching their spawn. What you want to know is that they spawn in one of 4 locations, either in the water behind one of the 3 platforms or dead center. So remember to keep your eye on these locations while dealing with the rest of the arena to kill the stranglers quickly. Trust me when I say mobility is key in these, not only in this arena but in all the others as well. Now I want to quickly say a few things about the mini-boss at the end of round 2 in this arena. He has two noteworthy attacks. One is the heavy attack you just saw. If you don't block it, you get stunned. And if you're stunned, that probably means death for you, since the rest of the ads and everything else is just trying to kill you while you're on the ground. And the other one is a red circle around him that you should interrupt when he does it, as if you get hit by it, it may even one-shot you. For the mini-boss at the end of round 3, she has a couple attacks that you need to watch out for. One is this pull that you absolutely have to break free as soon as it happens, and the other one is a reflect ability that when it happens you should not attack with any projectiles, meaning that you should only use your dual wield attacks to deal with her. Boss time. This time the boss doesn't really have a mechanic more than just dealing a lot of damage with each hit. You can mostly avoid it by just blocking her attacks, but the timing on that is not too easy, to be honest. But with a bit of practice you can anticipate her attacks and block them in time. Now, like with every boss, you run around circles around her, mostly to avoid her scream and her cold lightning attack. The scream is a conal attack you can completely avoid by running around her. If she does hit you with it, just break free immediately to not get destroyed by the ads and, well, her attacks. You still need to look out for the Strangler spawning, as their slow can decide whether or not you can outrun that scream attack. To deal with the ads, an Endless Hail and maybe a Dawnbreaker for the extra AoE should do the trick. If you need the heals though, use Rend instead. And here we are in Arena 4. This one's probably one of the easiest ones. There's only a few things noteworthy here. One of them are the clockwork sentries. They'll randomly spawn throughout the arena one at a time and move towards the center. Once they're there, they go into sentry mode and start shooting you. They don't have a lot of HP, so you should be able to kill them really quickly. The tricky part about it is catching them when they spawn. For that, your compass is a great tool. If you watch out for the red dots on there and you see that one doesn't correspond to any of the enemies you currently see, it's probably one of those sentries. Takes a bit of practice to get them, but once you do, you'll find this arena is a lot easier. The only other thing that's interesting here is the boss itself, but more on that once we get there. And we're at the boss already. Now this one's quite interesting, not too difficult, but interesting nonetheless. The green area you see is kinda like a safe spot. While he's walking around, he'll zap you with his lightning when you're on his half of the arena. But if you're underneath him in that green area, you're safe from that attack. Now after he's cleared about half of the arena, he sits down and starts to shoot out fire around him. And when you move away, he'll bombard you with fireballs that explode on the ground. Plus 2 ads will spawn. If your DPS is low, go to the opposite side of the arena and deal with the ads. Once they're down, quickly run underneath him as he'll probably have started walking around again. If your DPS is high, you can stay at his side at all times and just burst him down as quickly as you can. You may even get him before he sets down the first time.
Come in, stranger. Are you shivering yet?
Oh yeah, hi Serena. I love this one for various reasons. One of them being that the normal ads here hit as hard as some of the mini-bosses of other arenas. Now don't let that discourage you, they still don't have a lot of HP so you can kill them fairly quickly. For stem chars, dodge roll is an integral part of my tactic here, but I still try to not overuse it as it does cost quite a lot of stamina. And when you're out of stamina, obviously you can't block anymore or deal damage, so that usually means certain death. Important enemies to prioritize here are the mages and the archers. Things like ice archers and the other melee enemies are not too fast, so you can easily outrun them. But the archers and mages will destroy you if you don't destroy them first. On top of that, the most important targets are the trolls, which will break the platforms they're on if you let them live for too long. You can interrupt them to stop them for a short while, but you have to kill them sooner or later. If they do destroy the platform, a narrator spawner is quite tanky, and to be honest, you don't want an extra ad to deal with in this arena. Now what I do is I go back to the spawn platform to place down my ground dots and stuff, because that's where the first batch of ads spawns. It's basically in every round except the last one, round 4, the one before the boss, but you'll see that shortly. What I like to do here in round 3 is take out the ice mage before I kill the Atro, since the mage just deals more damage and is a lot harder to avoid. Same goes for the last batch of ads here, kill the mage and the archer first, then kill the ice Atro. Now in round 4 you can start out either left or right, both sides have an ice mage and a giant. It's important to kill the mages first, because the giants are tanky and the mages just kill you if you let them live for too long. Giants shouldn't really be an issue, as all of their attack, except for the roar that fears you, are directional, meaning that they will not hit you if you run circles around them. The same thing applies to the final boss as well. Alright, this is one of the more difficult bosses, as there are many things to look out for here. The first one is ad spawn. The first wave of ads spawns on 90% HP. on the platform you should be standing at, the spawn platform. The second wave of ads spawns at 60% in between the two remaining platforms, and the last set of ads spawns at like 25% near the left platform. At 75% and 45%, the boss will jump and destroy the platform she's currently on. She also spawns one of those narites when she does that, so take care of them as soon as possible. In this fight, trolls are your #1 priority target. You need to kill the trolls as quickly as you can, because when they destroy a platform, you're basically dead already, since the water damage racks up over time, gets stronger each tick, and with only 2 platforms, you cannot kill the boss. Since all of her attacks are directional, you just have to keep wearing circles around her to not get hit by any of them. This one's important because basically every hit she does is a CC in some way. Either it's a snare or even flat out stuns you. This one's all about timing. You can drag out the first 2 platforms as long as you want, so if you're struggling with the ads, just keep the DPS on the boss low and kill the ads first. Remember though, the last platform is time based, meaning that if you take too long to kill her on the last platform, she will destroy it and basically seal your fate. And here we are in Arena 6, the Spider Arena. This one is challenging, especially if you do it for the first time. There's an overall mechanic here that stretches throughout the whole arena, and if you don't execute it correctly, you will have a much harder time completing this one. Of course, talking about the obelisks. There are 5 of them in total, 1 on the middle and 4 surrounding ones. When you first step in here, the one in the middle is unwebbed and the other 4 are webbed. To unweb the obelisks, you will have to kill a hover. When they die close to an obelisk, they will explode immediately and unweb it. Also, they apply an armor debuff to any enemy caught in the explosion. Remember that, because that may be useful for the boss fight later on. If the hover dies somewhere else, they leave a plague bomb, similar to the ones in the Flesh Sculptor fight in ICP. To use those, you walk up to them, aim your reticle directly on one of the webbed obelisks and press the synergy button. The reason why you want those obelisks unwebbed is because only when they are able to resonate. That's important for the second mechanic, the swarm. Sometimes you get a message prompt on screen telling you that a swarm is attacking. When that happens, small spiders that are unkillable will start chasing you. When they attack you, the damage will increase each time they hit you, so try to stay away from them as much as possible. The only way to get rid of them is to drag them through one of the resonating obelisks, that are ones that are glowing. If the spider gets hit by the glow, they will stop chasing you and despawn. The only problem is that the resonating obelisks change every few seconds, and there's only one of them glowing at a time, with a second one glowing if one of them is about to run out. The last thing about the obelisks is when all 5 of them are unwebbed, every enemy in the entire arena is stunned for a few seconds and gets that armor debuff. So when you unweb the 5th one, get ready to burst things down quickly. I almost forgot one thing I wanted to address, the re-webbing spiders. These spawn randomly on one of the unwebbed obelisks and start to re-web them. If you catch them early enough, they're not too difficult to kill, usually a fully charged heavy attack kills them. The only problem you have is when they manage to re-web the obelisk, as that sets you back if you want to stun, or if it was your only obelisk and the swarm attacks, you will not have a resonating one and basically you'll die to that. If you only had 2 and the webbing spider did web the second one you had and the first one isn't resonating yet but a swarm attacks, you just dodge roll as much as you can and hope for the best that the one obelisk you have will start resonating soon. Now it's a lot to watch out for in this one, but as with all the arenas, once you've done them a couple times, they get easier. So don't be discouraged if you don't get this one on your first try. There's something about the Flesh Atronachs that's pretty handy to know, that when they charge their heavy attack, when you see the yellow sparkles from them, which usually indicates an attack that you can block, don't block that one, dodge roll it, because if you block it you will be slowed for a couple seconds, and that can mean death for you if the swarm attacks currently and you're not underneath a resonating obelisk yet. Now it's time for one of the more challenging bosses. The first thing to know is that the longer you take, the more enraged she becomes, meaning that she will get more damage over time. She also gains some resistance with each enrage. There's two ways to get rid of that enrage. One is to hit her with a Hove explosion, and the other one is to unweb all 5 obelisks and stun her. The next thing are the edge she spawns. At 50% she will spawn a Lurcher. He hits pretty hard, so try to block his attacks as much as possible. Don't really focus him though, because the other edge he spawns is way worse. The second ad is a small spider Daedra. The problem about this one is she slows you progressively to a point where you can't move at all, so you will have to kill that one as fast as you can. If your DPS is good, you can burst down the boss given that you have 4 obelisks unwebbed before the fight, and the 5th one is either ready when she spawns or short while into the fight. And we entered Arena 7. The theme of this one is awareness. What I mean by that is if you have a good eye on your surroundings, you will have a much easier time in this arena. I'll explain why. You see these plants on the ground? When you get too close to them, they'll explode in a big area. If you get caught in that explosion, you get the volatile poison debuff. The dot from that is insane. You will die in mere seconds if you don't have anything to heal yourself with. And as a stamcha, your options are quite limited. The only way to survive it is to get rid of it immediately. To do that, you go into one of the glowing green pools on each side of the arena. If you do cleanse yourself though, the pool will be used up for 2 rounds, so if you get poisoned 3 times within those 2 rounds, you will die for sure. Sometimes a poison caller will spawn on one of the 4 circular platforms that are on each side of the pools. While those are alive, all the plants in the room will explode and respawn over and over again. These are your main priority target. Once they spawn, take them out immediately. You notice them spawning when your screen turns green, and they also have a distinctive sound cue when they spawn in. The only other enemy that can apply the volatile poison, and they're quite annoying as well, are the archers. Those should be focused second. The attack they do that applies the poison is the arrow spray. Thankfully it's the only one that does it, but still watch out that you don't get hit by it. The rest of the arena is pretty straightforward, well, except for the boss at the end, but we'll get to that in time.
When does the real fight?
The challenger approaches. Release the defenders.
A few words to the Wamasunini boss you see right here is that lightning ball he shoots you should dodge, because it applies a pretty hefty dot if it hits you. You get used to the animation he does to see it coming, but yeah, definitely dodge it. The other one is this attack right here, the lightning waves he shoots out. Get away from him when he does that animation, and do not get hit by those waves, because they will insta-kill you. This boss has an interesting mechanic, but let's first talk about his normal attacks. His spit on the ground is not too difficult to dodge and doesn't deal too much damage even if it does hit you. The ground stomp shoots out shockwaves. They should be blocked because they can stagger you, and if he's enraged they can also insta-kill you, so stay away from him if he's enraged. The last thing is his chomp. When you're in melee range he will punch the ground and stun you, then chomp on you. If you break free that stun immediately and move out of the way, that chomp will not hit you. If it does hit you, you'll get a pretty strong dot on you. Now to the mechanic. Every so often 2 lightning mages will spawn. If you kill one of them, the boss will enrage and start screaming. The second mage will summon a small shield near him that protects you from the scream. The scream deals more damage the longer it lasts, but after a few seconds it stops. You can, however, interrupt the boss while he's screaming, should both of the mages be dead, for instance. That's the only option not to die. But if you do interrupt him, he will stay enraged, and while enraged, most of his attacks will one-shot you. Oh, of course, you have to watch out for the poison callers as well during the fight. This is where the arena sucks a bit, because you can get RNG killed sometimes. If a poison caller spawns right before the scream starts and summons the flower inside of the shield you're under, you die. It happens, and it's the absolute worst thing ever. Arena 8. I like to call this one the calm before the storm. This whole arena is fairly easy. Of course, there's some things that can kill you, like always, but compared to the last 2 arenas you've just been through and the last one that's coming up, this one's a lot simpler. The mechanic here is the 3 warding stones you see. At the end of each round, a mini-boss will spawn and randomly chosen one of the 3 warding stones will be active. While active, the mini-boss is immune to damage, so you have to kill that stone first. Once killed, the boss is susceptible to damage again and also stunned for a short time. The number 1 enemy of this arena are the Kühngulls, the fire mages. These have a channel attack that is very strong and has to be interrupted as soon as possible. You can dodge it, you can block it, but you can't survive it for too long. That's about it for this arena. The only other thing noteworthy are the last mini-boss and the boss itself, of course. Last mini-boss, the Flame Knight. This one has a chain attack like a DK. The way to avoid it is to either block the chain or dodge roll it. The timing on it is pretty tight though, so you kinda have to predict when he's gonna use it, which can be tough at first. The next thing is his standard, Get Out of There. Not only does it deal massive damage, it also gives him resistance buff. And lastly, his Flame Breath. Applies a pretty big dot and has good range. For me at least, this attack led to multiple unexpected deaths. And right after we have the final boss herself, the legend, the king of slow walkers, Valkin Tefra. This boss, unless you let her hit you, is an absolute joke. She is way too slow to do anything. She has one charged range attack that deals minimal damage, but unless you absolutely want to, she will never hit you. The way to kill her is to disable all 3 of those warding stones, at which point she is stunned for a decent amount of time. While stunned, you can just burst her down like usual. There's one catch though, sometimes these fire mages spawn, and sometimes they don't. But when they do, they will prolong the fight quite considerably, because usually they spawn while she's stunned. And as a melee class, you cannot deal effective damage while standing next to it waiting for the interrupt. I've not done the best job with this one here, but you will see it. I even got the boss to enrage in this one, which usually only happens after the 3rd stun. Now, the enrage is when the boss gets interesting, one might say difficult. As these flame waves she shoots out deal massive damage, maybe even one-hit you. Thankfully, you normally don't ever see this happening, because the boss is super easy, and up till this point, if you're lucky, you wouldn't ever have any of those mages spawn, so you will not have any problem bursting her down in time. If it does happen though, when she does that flame thing around her, stay away from her and try to dodge these flame walls as effectively as possible.
Challenger is triumphant. Eager? Don't succumb to the theater of despair. Fight, and fight fiercely.
Here we are, end of the line, final arena. It has a few tricks up its sleeve. The overarching one are the ghosts. There are 2 types of ghosts, bluish white ones and golden ones. Don't ever touch the blue ones, they deal damage to you and slow you. The golden ones ever you want to collect, get 3 of them and you get a synergy. That synergy is really powerful. It'll stun every enemy in the arena, apply an armor debuff to them, and get rid of all the other ghosts. Plus, every golden ghost you collect gives you a slight armor buff. The important enemies here are the Daedros, or here Krem Guards. They're quite tanky and deal massive damage, especially with their flame breath. Luckily for us, we as StaminaSorcerer can have constant 40% increased move speed, 30 from Vicious, 10 from Hurricane. If you run in close circles around them, the fire will never hit you. The other noteworthy things are the Summoners in round 4, the Titan in round 5, and, well, the boss itself. Alright, round 4. You will see the middle of the arena will start to go with a Daedric rune. That's the summon sigil. The summoners will go towards it. They spawn at the edge of the arena and slowly go to the center. The best way to deal with them is to do it last. You should first focus on the adds that actually fight back. But to keep the summoners from reaching the center while you kill the rest of the adds, you place a trap in their path. And since you know where they're going and they always take the straight route, just place a trap in their way and they'll be caged there, giving you enough time to kill the other adds and then kill the summoner. If by chance they do reach the center, it takes quite a while for them to finish the summon. In the very unlikely event they succeed at the summon, you will have to fight a Bone Colossus that deals massive damage with each hit. Frankly, you don't ever want to face that guy.
So far, so good. But the worst is yet to come.
In round 5, once you kill the first 2 adds, a Titan will spawn in the center. This guy is strong. Try to block each of his attacks. I know the timing is not too easy, but you'll get used to it after a while. The one attack that is devastating is when he launches you backwards and sends out walls of fire. Avoid them at all costs. Keep in mind though, dodge roll will not help. If they hit you, they kill you. Simple as that. Once the Titan is down, 3 more adds will spawn, then another 3 adds, and then an Ogrim. Once you kill those, get ready for the boss. I'll start to explain the boss a little early because they don't take too long to kill this guy and there's a lot to talk about. There's 3 phases to him. The first one from 100 to 70%, the crystal phase, and the final phase. The first phase, you can do it 2 ways. You can burst him down before he does anything. To do that, you will have to have good DPS or you have to have the stun synergy ready when he spawns. The other option is to wait for the Krem guard he spawns, kill it, and then push him to 70%. Now about his attacks he does in this phase. The first one you'll see is the Charged Skull. This one will knock you back when it hits you. To avoid that, block it or dodge it. The other one is a channeled attack. He barrages you with pretty hard hitting shots as long as he channels it, so interrupt him as fast as possible. Once he reaches 70%, one of the platforms along the edge will start to glow and the Spectral Clanfear will spawn. You'll have to kill that Clanfear near the glowing platform to activate the portal. Once up there, you have to destroy 3 crystals. While you're doing that, you have a pretty big dot on you, but with your surge that shouldn't be that much of a problem. The boss will not just sit there and watch you destroy the crystal. He does 2 attacks. One is the charged knockback skull from before and the other one is the wall you see right there. The wall will move on the inner edge of the platform. After a while he does a knockback explosion that cannot be blocked or dodged. You have to be behind that wall. If he does knock you off, there's a Daedroth waiting for you down there, so you don't really want that to happen. Careful though, the wall will move faster each time he does the attack. There's a way to reset that speed, that's by getting kicked off the platform, but you have to deal with the Daedroth if that happens. Once the 3rd crystal explodes, he teleports down, usually starting that channel attack of his instantly. In the last phase, the golden ghosts make a return and they will spawn in the lava and move towards the boss. You have to get those ghosts. If the boss gets 3 ghosts, he gets a new move that insta-kills you. After the 3rd ghost spawns, the boss also summons a Daedroth. This one's easy enough though, as you have your stun ready to deal with it from the synergy. Don't try to kill the boss with the synergy stun, go the safe route, wait for the Daedroth and kill that. You can also just have enough DPS to not have the 3rd ghost spawn at all, but if you don't, it's better to go the safe route. Well, there you have it, Maelstrom Arena on a stem sorc. It took me quite a while to get this one done, since as you will see this is actually my first flawless on this char, and I wanted to do right by you guys and do this guide on a flawless. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them in the comments. Also, if I forgot to talk about anything, let me know as well. Go check out my Max guide as well if you're interested. If you have any trouble completing Maelstrom, don't get discouraged. It's hard and it takes a lot of practice, but each time you finish, it'll get a bit easier. Anyways, have fun in Maelstrom and have a nice day. I'll see you all next time.